A lonely janitor just wanted to help a scared girl, until he stumbled upon a secret that cracked $1 million robbery. No one saw him coming, not the cops, not the thieves. But when the truth exploded, it changed everything. This is the story of an invisible man who became a hero. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on notifications. Stories like this remind us that heroes come from the most unexpected places. The Invisible Man. The fluorescent lights of Hartford Savings Bank buzz softly overhead, their glow flickering against the polished marble floors. It was past closing time, and the once bustling lobby was now eerily silent, except for the slow, methodical squeak of a mop sliding across tile. Earl Jenkins moved through the empty bank like a shadow, his worn-out sneakers barely making a sound. At 58, his body carried the weight of decades, his left leg stiff from an old shrapnel wound, his shoulders slightly hunched from years of labor. The navy blue janitor's uniform hung loose on his frame, the name tag crooked but still readable. Earl. Maintenance. Most people didn't see him, and that was fine. He preferred it that way. He dipped the mop into the bucket, the soapy water sloshing as he wrung it out. Another night, another routine. The bank had been his job for the past 6 years, ever since the factory shut down. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest. And after Vietnam, after the divorce, after the years of drifting, honest work mattered. Then he heard it, a sniffle. Earl paused, his grip tightening on the mop handle. The sound had come from the women's restroom. He frowned. The bank had been empty when he clocked in. He always checked. "Hello," he called out, his voice rough but not unkind. No answer, just silence. He hesitated, then pushed the restroom door open slowly. Anyone in here? At first, he saw nothing. Then, from the last stall, a small pair of sneakers, scuffed at the toes, shifted slightly. Earl exhaled. "Kid, you all right in there?" The stall door creaked open, revealing a girl, no older than 12, with tangled brown hair and wide, frightened eyes. She clutched a crumpled piece of paper in her fist, her knuckles white. Earl's chest tightened. He knew that look. He'd seen it in the mirror enough times. "You lost?" he asked gently. The girl shook her head, her lips pressed into a thin line. Earl leaned the mop against the sink and crouched down, wincing as his knee popped. "Name's Earl. What's yours?" A beat of silence. Then, barely a whisper, "Lily." "All right, Lily. You want to tell me why you're hiding in a bank bathroom after hours?" Her breath hitched. I was waiting for my mom. She works here. Worked here." Her voice cracked. "But she didn't come home today." Earl frowned. "What do you mean?" Lily unfolded the paper in her hands. A deposit slip, smudged with what looked like tears. Scrawled in messy handwriting at the bottom were 2 words. "They framed me." Before Earl could ask another question, a loud clang echoed from somewhere deeper in the bank. Both of them froze. Lily's eyes went even wider. "They're here," she whispered. Earl's pulse spiked. Who's here? But he already knew. 3 months ago, Hartford Savings had been hit. $1 million heist, clean and professional. No suspects. No leads. Just a vault emptied in the dead of night. And now, someone was back. Earl grabbed Lily's hand. "We gotta move. Quiet as you can." She nodded, her fingers trembling in his grip. He led her out of the restroom, his ears straining for any sound. The bank was too quiet, too still. Then footsteps, coming their way. Earl ducked behind a row of desks, pulling Lily down with him. His mind raced. He was just a janitor. He wasn't supposed to be a hero. But as he looked at Lily's terrified face, he knew one thing for certain. Tonight, he wouldn't be invisible. Not anymore. The girl's secret. Earl held his breath as the footsteps grew louder. Heavy boots. More than one person. Lily pressed closer to him, her small frame trembling. He could feel her heartbeat against his arm, fast and frantic like a trapped bird. He gave her hand a quick squeeze, hoping it would steady her. It didn't. The footsteps stopped just beyond the row of desks. A man's voice, low and rough. "Check the offices. She's got to be here somewhere." Earl's stomach dropped. They were looking for Lily. Another voice, higher-pitched, nervous. You sure she came in here? Cameras are still down, but if someone saw her. Shut up and search. A drawer slammed open somewhere nearby. Papers rustled. Earl's mind raced. They were trapped. The bank's layout flashed in his head. Exits, hiding spots, anything. The front doors were locked from the inside, but the loading dock out back. If they could make it there. Lily tugged his sleeve. When he looked down, she mouthed a single word. Vent. Earl followed her gaze to the floor near the wall. A small ventilation grate, barely big enough for a kid. Lily could fit. He couldn't. He shook his head. No way was he leaving her alone. But then she reached into her pocket and pulled out a flash drive. Her fingers shook as she pressed it into his palm. They want this, she whispered. So quiet he almost didn't hear. Mom hid it in my backpack the day they arrested her. Earl stared at the tiny device. This was why they'd come back. Not for money. For proof. A desk chair screeched as someone shoved it aside. Too close. Earl made a decision. He grabbed a pen from the desk, scribbled on Lily's deposit slip, and shoved it back at her along with his keys. Maintenance closet, he whispered. Hide. Don't come out till I say. Lily's eyes welled up, but she nodded. Earl waited until the footsteps moved toward the far office, then gave her a nudge. Quick as a mouse, Lily slid the vent open, wriggled inside, and pulled it shut behind her. Just in time. A shadow loomed over the desks. Well, well. Earl turned slowly. The man standing over him was built like a linebacker, thick-necked, meaty hands, and a tattoo snaking up his wrist, a serpent coiled around a $sign. Earl recognized it instantly. The security guard, the one who'd quit right after the robbery. Didn't expect company, the man said, grinning like a shark. His partner, a wiry guy with a shaved head, hovered behind him, eyes darting. Earl forced his voice steady. Just finishing up. Bank's closed, you know. The big man laughed. Yeah, we know. He stepped closer, his boot kicking the mop bucket. Water sloshed over the edge. You see a kid in here? About yay high, scared looking? Earl shrugged. Just me and the ghosts. The wiry guy snorted. He's messing with us, Dex. Dex. So that was his name. Dex's grin faded. Check the back. As the wiry guy moved off, Dex leaned down, his breath sour with cheap whiskey. Here's how this goes. You tell me where the girl is. I walk away. You don't. He patted his jacket, where something heavy bulged. Well, janitors have accidents all the time, right? Earl's pulse pounded in his ears, but he kept his face blank. Ain't seen no kid. Dex's eyes narrowed. Then, without warning, he grabbed Earl's collar and yanked him up. Let's try again. Earl's bad leg screamed in protest, but he didn't fight back. Not yet. From a corner of his eye, he saw the vent grate shift. Just a fraction. Lily was still there, watching. Dex shoved him against the desk. Last chance. Earl exhaled. Then he smiled. You're right about one thing, he said. Dex frowned. Huh. Earl slammed his forehead into the man's nose. Dex howled, stumbling back as blood gushed down his face. Earl didn't wait. He grabbed the mop and swung the handle hard into Dex's knee. Something cracked. You little. Earl bolted. He sprinted past the desks, toward the lobby, Dex's roars echoing behind him. The flash drive burned in his pocket. He needed to draw them away. Give Lily time. The wiry guy appeared in front of him, eyes wide. What the? Earl ducked under his swing and shoved him into a cubicle. Alarms blared in his head. Not the bank's, his own. Move. Move. He skidded around a corner, heart hammering. The loading dock was just past the break room. If he could, a gunshot exploded behind him. Plaster rained from the ceiling. I'll blow your goddamn head off. Dex screamed. Earl dug behind a copier as another shot rang out. The glass wall beside him spiderwebbed. He was out of time. Then, a sound that made his blood freeze. A child scream. Lily. Dex had found her. The hidden clue. Earl's blood turned to ice at the sound of Lily's scream. He didn't think. He moved, abandoning his cover. He sprinted back toward the offices, his bad legs screaming in protest. The flash drive in his pocket felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Every instinct told him to run the other way, to save himself. But the image of Lily's terrified face burned in his mind. He rounded the corner, just in time to see Dex dragging Lily out of the vent by her ankle. The wiry guy, now bleeding from a split lip, stood guard, gun drawn. "Let her go." Earl roared before he could stop himself. Dex whirled around, his nose still dripping blood, his free hand clutching a pistol. His grin was monstrous. "Well, look who grew a pair. You're going to be a hero now, old man." Lily kicked wildly, her sneaker connecting with Dex's shin. He cursed and backhanded her across the face. The sound of the slap echoed through the empty bank. Something inside Earl snapped. He charged. Dex raised his gun, but Earl was already ducking low, tackling him around the waist. They crashed into a desk, sending monitors and paperwork flying. The gun skittered across the floor. Lily scrambled away, but the wiry guy lunged for her. Earl saw out of the corner of his eye, saw the panic on her face, and wrenched himself free just enough to kick a rolling chair into the man's path. The wiry guy went down hard, his head cracking against the edge of a filing cabinet. Dex seized the opportunity. His fist connected with Earl's jaw, sending stars exploding across his vision. A second punch landed in his gut, knocking the wind out of him. "You're dead," Dex snarled, pinning Earl down with a knee to his chest. "You hear me? Dead." Earl gasped for air, his vision swimming. He could feel Dex reaching for something. The gun! He had seconds left. Then a miracle. The bank's fire alarm suddenly blared to life, an ear-splitting wail that filled the entire building. Sprinklers burst on, drenching them both in icy water. Dex flinched, loosening his grip just enough. Earl headbutted him again, same spot, same broken nose. Dex howled, clutching his face. Earl rolled free, scrambling toward Lily, who was pressed against the wall, her eyes wide with terror. "Come on." He grabbed her hand and yanked her toward the hallway. Behind them, Dex was already staggering to his feet. "I'll kill you both." Earl didn't look back. He ran, dragging Lily with him, his lungs on fire. The sprinklers made the floor slick, and twice he nearly lost his footing. Where are we going?" Lily panted. "Security office." Earl wheezed. Cameras. If they could get to the footage. If they could prove Dex was involved in the robbery. A gunshot rang out. The glass door in front of them shattered. Earl shoved Lily down, covering her body with his own as more shots peppered the wall above them. Dex was gaining ground. Think. His eyes landed on the janitor's closet just ahead. His closet. "Lily, listen to me," he gasped, pressing the flash drive into her hand. "When I say run, you run to that closet and lock yourself in. Don't open it for anyone but me or the cops. Understand?" She nodded, tears mixing with the sprinkler water on her face. Earl took a deep breath. Then he stood, grabbing a fire extinguisher from the wall. "Run." Lily bolted as Earl spun and yanked the pin from the extinguisher. A thick cloud of white foam erupted, filling the hallway. Dex emerged from the spray like a demon, gun raised. Earl swung the extinguisher like a battering ram. It connected with Dex's wrist. The gun clattered to the floor. For a split second, they stood there, chests heaving, water dripping from their faces. Then Dex smiled. Earl barely had time to register the knife in his other hand before it slashed toward his throat. The trap. Earl jerked back just as the knife flashed through the air. The blade grazed his chin, drawing a thin line of fire across his skin. He stumbled backward, his boots slipping on the wet tile. Dex lunged again, teeth bared in a snarl. There was no time to think, only react. Earl swung the fire extinguisher like a club. It connected with Dex's shoulder with a sickening crunch. The big man roared in pain but didn't go down. Instead, he grabbed the extinguisher and wrenched it from Earl's grip, sending it clattering across the floor. Behind Dex, the wiry guy was stirring, groaning as he clutched his bleeding head. 2 against 1. Earl was out of weapons, out of time. Then he remembered the ammonia. His janitor's cart was just a few feet away. If he could reach it, Dex wiped blood from his mouth and grinned. You're gonna wish you stayed in your place. Old man. He advanced, knife glinting under the flickering lights. Earl feinted left, then dove right, his fingers closing around a spray bottle on the cart. He spun just as Dex charged and squeezed the trigger. A stream of ammonia hit Dex square in the eyes. The effect was instant. Dex screamed, clawing at his face, the knife falling from his fingers. Earl didn't hesitate. He grabbed a second bottle, bleach this time, and hurled it at the wiry guy, who had just managed to stand. The bottle shattered at his feet, sending up a cloud of toxic fumes. The wiry guy gagged, his eyes watering as he stumbled back into the wall. Earl didn't wait to see more. He sprinted for security office, his heart hammering against his ribs. The door was locked, but he'd had a master key for 6 years. His shaking hands fumbled with it before the lock finally clicked. Inside, the monitor wall showed every corner of the bank, including Dex still writhing on the floor near the ammonia spill. Earl's fingers flew over the keyboard, pulling up archive footage from 3 months ago, the night of the robbery. The screen flickered to life, showing 4 figures in black moving through the bank. But one of them, the tallest, paused near a desk to adjust his glove, revealing the serpent tattoo. Dex! Earl's breath caught. This was it, the proof they needed. He reached for the flash drive in his pocket. It wasn't there. Lily still had it. A crash echoed from down the hall. Earl whirled to see Dex staggering toward him, his face red and blistered, his eyes wild with rage. You're dead! Dex spat, blood and foam dripping from his mouth. You hear me? Dead. Earl grabbed the only weapon within reach, a heavy-duty stapler, and braced himself as Dex barreled through the door. Then, sirens. Dex froze. The sound was distant but growing louder, much louder. Earl saw the calculation flash across Dex's face. Fight or flee. For a heartbeat, they stood there, locked in silence. Then Dex turned and ran. Earl didn't chase him. He couldn't. His legs gave out as the adrenaline crashed, sending him sliding down the wall to the floor. The stapler slipped from his fingers. Somewhere in the distance, glass shattered. A car engine roared to life. The cops would be too late for Dex. But they weren't too late for Lily. Earl forced himself to stand, his body screaming in protest. He had to get to her before the police stormed in. Had to make sure she was... The closet door burst open before he could knock. Lily launched herself into his arms, sobbing. You're okay. You're okay. Earl held her tight, his own eyes burning. Yeah, kid, we're okay. Outside, red and blue lights painted the walls. Shouted orders echoed through the building. It was over. Almost. Earl pulled back just enough to look Lily in the eye. The flash drive. We need to show them. Lily nodded and pulled it from her pocket. The little USB gleamed in her palm, $1 million secret. Earl took it gently. Let's go clear your mom's name. As they stepped into the flashing lights of the police cruisers, Earl realized something. For the first time in years, he didn't feel invisible. The unlikely hero. The fluorescent lights of the police precinct buzzed overhead, harsh and unforgiving. Earl sat on an uncomfortable plastic chair, his hands wrapped around a styrofoam cup of coffee that had gone cold an hour ago. Lily was in the next room with a social worker giving her statement. Every few minutes, she'd peek through the glass partition to make sure Earl was still there. He always nodded back. Detective Mark Reyes, Earl's old army buddy, leaned against the desk in front of him, flipping through a file. You realize how insane this sounds, right? A janitor and a kid take down $1 million robbery ring. Earl rubbed his aching jaw. Didn't exactly plan it. Reyes snorted. You never do. He tapped the flash drive on the desk. This thing's gold. Security footage, transaction logs, even a damn confession memo from the bank manager. Lily's mom was set up from the start. Earl's grip tightened on the cup. She gonna walk? Already processing the release. Reyes hesitated. You know they'll offer you a reward, right? There's a percentage for recovered assets. I don't want it. Reyes raised an eyebrow. Earl glanced at Lily through the glass. Put it in a trust for her, for college, or whatever she needs. The detective studied him for a long moment before shaking his head with a chuckle. Same stubborn bastard from Saigon. The door burst open. A uniformed officer rushed in. "Sir, we got a problem. Dex's car just turned up abandoned near the train station. He's got a wife, Maria Sanchez. She's not answering her phone." Reyes stood so fast his chair toppled. "Damn it. If he's running, he'll need cash. And if he thinks she knows something." Earl was already on his feet. Where does she live? The apartment complex was a rundown box of crumbling brick and flickering hallway lights. Earl moved silently behind Reyes in two uniforms, his body protesting every step. Lily had begged to come, but Reyes left her with a female officer back at the precinct. They didn't need to knock. The door was cracked open, a sliver of darkness gaping like a wound. Reyes drew his gun. "Police. Maria Sanchez." No answer. Earl smelled it before they crossed the threshold. Copper and bleach. The scent of panic. The living room was a disaster. Overturned furniture. A shattered lamp. And in the center of it all, a petite woman duct-taped to a kitchen chair, her face streaked with tears and blood. Maria Sanchez gasped when she saw them. "He's gone. He took everything." Reyes cut her free while the officers cleared the apartment. "Where'd he go, Maria?" She shook violently. "Airport. He has a passport. Said he'd kill me if I talked." Her voice broke as she noticed Earl standing in the shadows. Her eyes widened. You're the janitor from the bank." Earl stepped forward. "What else did he take?" Maria swallowed hard. "A gun, and the keys to the manager's summer house. He kept a safe there. I think it's where the money's hidden." Reyes was already on the radio calling for air support, but Earl was staring at the Polaroid stuck to Maria's fridge with a butterfly magnet. Dex, grinning with his arm around a woman, at what looked like a lake house with a red boathouse. Earl knew that boathouse. The tires of Reyes' unmarked cruiser screamed as they skidded onto the gravel driveway 2 hours later. The lake house was dark, except for a single light upstairs. No sirens. Reyes ordered as SWAT moved into position. "We do this quiet." Earl stayed by the car, his eyes locked on the boathouse. Something wasn't right. Then he saw it, a flicker of movement near the water, a shadow darting between the trees. Dex! Earl didn't think. He ran. The night air was thick with the smell of pine and gasoline as he crashed through the underbrush. Dex was already at the boathouse, fumbling with a gas can. "You!" Dex snarled when he saw Earl. "I should have killed you when I had the chance." He raised a gun. Earl dove behind a stack of kayaks as the shot rang out, splintering the wood above his head. Dex kept firing, wild and desperate, as he backed toward a speedboat bobbing in the water. Then a spotlight. "FBI, drop your weapon." Dex hesitated. His eyes met Earl's across the dock. For a second, Earl thought he might surrender. Then Dex smiled and jumped. The boat engine roared to life as Dex gunned it toward open water. Earl lunged, but was too late. The speedboat was already slicing through the darkness. Reyes cursed beside him. "He'll make it to international waters before we—" A deafening explosion cut him off. The boathouse erupted in flames, the blast rocking the dock beneath their feet. Earl shielded his face as burning debris rained down. Dex had rigged it, a distraction. But as the firelight danced across the water, Earl saw something Dex hadn't planned on. The speedboat was circling wildly, out of control. Then it flipped. They fished Dex out of the lake 20 minutes later, coughing up water and curses. The money, neatly packed in waterproof cases, floated beside him. Reyes clapped Earl on the back as paramedics loaded Dex into an ambulance. Hell of a retirement plan, huh? Earl watched the embers of the boathouse glow against the night sky. Just another day at the office. The morning sun painted the bank lobby gold as Earl mopped the last of the police tape residue from the marble floors. His chin was bandaged, his ribs taped, but he refused to take the day off. A familiar voice made him turn. "Mr. Jenkins?" Lily stood in the doorway, holding her mother's hand. Mrs. Carter's eyes were red-rimmed but clear, her posture straight for the first time in months. Lily ran forward and hugged Earl, so tight he winced. "We brought you something." It was a framed newspaper article, Asterisk janitor and 12-year-old girl saw $1 million heist. Asterisk beneath the headline was a photo of Earl, Lily, and her mother outside the courthouse. Mrs. Carter squeezed his arm. "Thank you for everything." Earl cleared his throat, suddenly unable to speak. He just nodded. As they walked away, Lily turned and waved. Earl waved back. Then he picked up his mop and went back to work. Did this story surprise you? Sometimes heroes don't wear capes. They carry mops. Hit like if you believe ordinary people can do extraordinary things, and subscribe for more real-life hero stories. Who should we feature next? Comment below.